Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is, or you've got a little bit lost. Welcome, everyone. I am Chatty, and today I'm going to be chatting away madly about Picture This, a day in December. It is the Picture This not reading tag, a readathon, created by Jack from Spread Bookjoy, and it's going to be happening throughout the whole of April. And she is co-hosting with Shelly from the channel Shelly Swear Engine. So I have got my Picture This TBR, and I'm going to be sharing it with you. So they have 6 prompts, and these prompts are all one word, and it's going to be really fun to see how everyone has interpreted the different words. There's no right or wrong, you just go for it. And there's also an extra challenge where you can do a deep dive into an illustrator's work and explore their different illustrations. So the main point behind this book is to just really highlight picture books as something that adults can enjoy as well. So picture books use pictures to enhance the story. Sometimes they don't have a lot of text. They're very different style to comics and graphic novels. It's a different genre's the wrong word, I think. Format. It's a different format. So this one is just picture books. But they're commonly most associated with children. But the point of this readathon is to show adults that you can enjoy picture books too. Now, I have always loved picture books. There's many at my house back where I come from. As you all know, if you saw my Books of My Childhood tag that I did with my mum, Nata. And then I did delve into a bit of teacher training where I did start collecting picture books. And I have collected picture books since then until I had my own children, where I just went off into the distance without looking back and went crazy picture booking. And I'm now getting to the point where they are starting to move on to chapter books. My youngest still very much enjoys picture books, but I haven't bought my elder one picture books for quite a long time now. But there are picture books sometimes that I just want for me. And sometimes I definitely bought them for me, but said they were for my children. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, that's just for me. And I have one of them on this list. So let's go off with the prompts. The first 3 prompts are ones that Shelly Swearinger picked. And the first of those is silly. And for this one, I have I Want My Hat Back by John Classam. We have a few John Classam books. He is both the author and the illustrator in this house. This one is definitely my husband's favourite. This is probably one of his favourite, if not the favourite picture book. My mum found The Rock That Fell from the Sky, and we have collected a few more since then. So he has this very distinct art style. It's very kind of like greyish tones. So even though there is colour, it's always kind of greyed down, and it's very kind of like soft characters. And there is quite bold text in his writing, and the more you go through the story, the more you feel like you're going to be laughing at the end. It's very much leading up to something. So with all of these picture books, I'm going to read like the first couple of pages to give you a taste of the story. And this picture book was first published in 2011. So let's do a little explore. So we have got some sort of watercolory grey rocks and grasses as we open the book. Got these nice end pages here where we have the bear. This is the bear that wants his hat back. And here we have a deer and a fox and a tortoise and a rabbit and a few of the other characters we meet throughout the story, and it's all done in these very grey tones. And then we have a red. The hat is red, and we have I Want My Hat Back in red. And then here we have the bear. This is our protagonist. We are introduced to him. He looks a little bit sort of glum. He's a bit slumpy. And he says, "My hat is gone. I want it back." And here, look, he's met a little fox. So we do have the orange colour, but again, it's kind of like quite dark, dulled tones here. So here's the bear and here's the fox. And we just have the The bear speaks in black and the fox speaks in red. Have you seen my hat? No, I haven't seen your hat. Okay, thank you anyway. And the story continues from there. He finds lots of animals. No one has seen his hat. But then suddenly he realises he has seen his hat. And you won't understand why this is funny until you read the book. So if you want to know why, I suggest you go to the library. I will, of course, be talking about the picture books in my April wrap-ups, so I will give you more information about this book then. And I will be reading it properly. I will be sitting and reading it to myself, even though I have read this many, many times to my children. Okay, the second prompt from Shelly Swearingen is funny. So for the book Funny, I have gone for another favourite in our household, which is You're Called What? By Kes Gray and illustrated by Nikki Dyson. So Kes Gray, we very much love the Oi Frog books that he has done. Don't know if it mentions it anywhere in this book. But when we saw that there was another book by him, we were very excited. And this one was published in 2018, so it's a bit more recent. And it is all about animals that have very silly names. So here on the front cover, we have this bird that is sort of seagull coloured. He's got a name badge around his neck, like a lanyard, and he has blue webbed feet and is known as the blue-footed booby. And then here we have a wasp that I'm not going to say what its name is. And it's all about creatures that have really funny names. And they want to get their names changed because every time they tell another creature their name, that creature just starts laughing at them. And right at the back, we get photographs of all the animals in real life. So every single animal in here is a real life animal. And there's a little fact file at the end, which both my children really enjoy. So, I'm dropping the book all over the place. So You're Called What? I love that we open this book and immediately we have got this in picture books. You get quite a lot of name, and then you could fill in your child's name on there if you wanted to, or your name if the book belongs to you. And it says the Ministry of Silly Animals Names, and photo here. So that's your lanyard that you would have, and there's some pens and pencils here. And then here we go. We've got the little wasp in the corner. And then we've got another nicely illustrated end page. So we've got this green background. We've got the blue-footed booby reading Top 100 non-silly names. So obviously choosing one that's not going to cause hilarity. And then we've got the little bzzz wasp, which you do have to follow with your finger. It's like obligatory. And then here we have with all the information about when it was published and the notes from Kes Gray and Nikki Dyson about who they've dedicated the book to. On the title page, we then have this line of animals all with their lanyards on. I don't know what this creature is here, but he looks hilarious. And then finally here our story starts. So we have this double page spread of all these animals queuing up very sensibly, very civilized. And there are lots of windows. There's windows 1 to 4 with different animals wanting to change their names at the window. It was another busy day at the Ministry of Silly Animal Names. Window number 1, please. And here we have a little cockapoo heading off to window number 1. I'd like to change my name, please, said the dog who was next in the queue. And may I ask why, said the secretary bird behind the counter. Because I'm a cockapoo, said the cockapoo. Laughed all the other animals with silly names. You see, said the cockapoo, whenever I say what sort of dog I am, everybody laughs. There's a poor little cockapoo explaining that he just gets laughed at whenever he says his name. And here's all the other animals finding it really funny. And we have him at the window here, whispering to the secretary bird. And I love that all the windows are manned by secretary birds, which is a real bird. And it goes on through many other animals, and we explore all their different names throughout the book. It's very silly. It's very silly. So we then have Pink is the final prompt from Shelly Swearingen. And for Pink, I have gone for a classic. This is the oldest book I have on my TBR. and it has recently had a revival from my youngest, and it is Mog and Bunny by Judith Kerr. So again, Judith Kerr does both the illustrations and wrote the story. If you are not familiar with Mog, Mog was first created in the 70s and is known as the Forgetful Cat, and there are many Mog books in the series. I find them quite hilarious, not necessarily in the way they're always intended, but I found Mog and the Baby definitely stretched my imagination capabilities of the dubious parenting going on within that book. But I do enjoy Mog. I do enjoy the children in the family, Nikki and Debbie. Mr. and Mrs. Thomas generally leave quite a lot to be desired. Leave a lot to be desired within their characters, but it is very much kind of the illustrations are very much of its time, and I always find that quite fun, especially reading with my children, to be like, look at the television, look how enormous that is, no flat screens here, and all of that sort of thing. So Mog and Bunny is probably my favourite Mog book, and I've chosen it for pink because Bunny is pink. So this was published in 1988. And Judith Kerr's illustrations are done through sort of like, they're all like, they look like pencil drawings. She could have also used sort of like watercolours. It's got that sort of like very kind of faint pastel-y effect. But it does look like she's used some sort of like pencil drawings in them. And here we have Mog, Mog's bottom, and peering over her shoulder, she's got Bunny in her mouth. And we go straight into the, and that was the only end page we had there, and we go straight into the story. One day, Mog got a present. "Here you are, Mog," said Nikki. "This is for you. It's called Bunny." Now, in this picture, we have Mog looking very interested at the little pink rabbit toy that Nikki is holding out for her. And there's Debbie sat next to her, stroking her back. I'd say the children are roughly around the age of like 7 or 8. And then we have Mr. and Mrs. Thomas doing parenty things in the background. Mog liked Bunny. She carried him about. She played with him and played with him. And I love how we get this quite a lot in picture books, where you have lots of short sentences or sentences broken up, and you have a little illustration at those different points to show a little bit further what that character is doing. So here we have Mog. Mog liked Bunny. So we have brand new Bunny here with a smart green bow tie on, looking very fluffy, and Mog just cuddling him between her claws and looking very pleased. I love all the Mog expressions in here about her different emotions. You can just really see how she feels through the artwork, which is lovely. And with "she carried him about," we've got Bunny dangling from his green ribbon. It's now come untied, and he's looking a little bit fluffed up now. But Mog looks very proud as she is strutting along with him in her mouth. She played with him. Mog is on her back in a wonderful cat pose where you just want to tickle her belly, and is holding Bunny in one hand and the ribbon in the other. And played with him. We have Mog leaping in midair, and uh-oh, one of Bunny's ears has come off because he's just been so loved that the ear's been loved off. So that was Mog and Bunny. So we're going to move on to Jack from Spread Book Joy's prompts now. So the first of Jack's prompts was hope. And for this I have gone for Are You a Boy or Are You a Girl?, which has been written by Sarah Savage and illustrated by Fox Fisher. And this book was published, I think it was written in 2015, and the illustrations are copyrighted for 2017. So I think this particular version of the book was 2017, but I think the story was written a couple of years earlier. So this these writer and illustrator are both trans, and this book explores what it's like to be a non-binary child, where you don't necessarily want to fit into the non-binary gender, and just kind of exploring and questioning, does it really matter whether you're a boy or a girl? So it's a hardback, and then on this front page we've got these wonderful kind of blob paint smears of colour, and we have this kind of silhouette of our protagonist, who's called Tiny, head, and then that's where we've got all the publication details. And then on the next page we have, on the side of what I'm going to say is a London bus, so it's a bright red bus, are you a boy or are you a girl, written as the sticker, like the advert that goes across buses. My name is Tiny, and this is my family. We have just moved to a new town because Dad has a job as a bus driver. So here we go, we've got Dad holding a little baby that's in a cute rabbit onesie. We've got Mum, a sister holding a teddy, and we've got what looks like a very fluffy cat and a greyhound dog. And there is Tiny in orange, wearing some orange welly boots. We have a beautiful new house, and I will be going to a new school. Well, you can't see the house. There we go. There's the house with the happy dog bounding around. This is my bedroom in our new house. Dad has built me a special bed that looks like a castle. And there we go. We needed to see the special bed that looks like a castle. So obviously, as well as being a bus driver, Dad must be quite good at carpentry as well. It's so big that I can keep all of my toys underneath and still have space to play with my little sister Fiona. So we continue to be introduced to Tiny and everything that Tiny enjoys doing, and Tiny enjoys a whole range of playing with very, very different things. And then we meet Tiny going to school, where Tiny does make friends, but there are some children that just can't cope with not knowing whether or not Tiny is a boy or a girl, and that Tiny doesn't really fit into a gendered box. And it's continued throughout with Tiny just kind of showing that there doesn't need to be a box, that Tiny can just be non-binary and quite happy doing whatever play they want to be playing and dressing however they want to dress, and it really doesn't matter because Tiny is happy and Tiny is fun. And the reason I've put that under hope is because obviously it feels hopeful to be having trans stories available in picture book format, to be having children thinking about what it's like to be non-binary and the fact that maybe it doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl. So I find that very hopeful. We then have Yellow, and this is the book that I recently bought for myself because I saw it in the supermarket and it was a bargain, and I'm like, I just want that book. It just looks so much fun. So I bought it, and I didn't necessarily think it was going to be one of the books that my children would be particularly excited about. I'm still going to read it to them, but this is my book. And this is called Not Now, Noor, and it is by written by Farhana Islam and illustrated by Nabila Adani. And on the front we have this delightful happy girl wearing a bright yellow t-shirt with a golden sunshine on it, and then we have got a lot of yellow in the background, and then we've got a whole array of women in her family in a variety of different hijabs. So we have a family tree on the next page, so we get to identify who they all are. And we have this table full of food, and we have got these lovely lanterns hanging down from the ceiling, and they are actually raised. If you put your finger over them, they've been, is it called embossed? So there's like some embossing there, and there's some embossing on the writing of Noor as well, which I think is always fun. I always like to feel things. Oh, and her sunshine as well. Was there anything else? Oh, her hair clip is also embossed. And we've got some golden flowers here on the sort of like curtains. This is general joy, and I think yellow is a very joyful colour, so that feels like it works really well. And this was published this year. This was published in 2023. And here we go, open it, it says My Family Tree. So we have Nanu, my grandma, who looks like she's hiding. We have Dadu, my grandma, and Dada, my granddad. Here they are. And then we have Abu, my dada. Sorry, Abu, my dad. And then Auntie Salma, dad's sister, who is she driving? No, she's not driving. She's shouting at someone. And then we have Amu, my mum. And then here we have me. And then we have Atha, my sister. who looks like she's doing some reading, which we always approve of. And then we have Not Now Noor, and we have the golden sunshine underneath. And then we have the information with the publishing, and here we have a whole collection of things, and I think they must be different things to do with the family, so I'm looking forward to matching them all up. So we have some slippers. I'm imagining that's one of the grandmas, but I'm not sure which one. A nice cup of tea in a blue cup. I don't know if that looks like it could be Auntie Salma's hijab. Yes, that looks like the same pattern. Oh, it's a different colour, so maybe it's something else. We have a book. We have some glasses. They look like her sister's red glasses, and that looks like Noor's golden dragonfly hair clip. And then on the title of Not Now Noor, underneath we have a lovely family photograph that is stuck with some beautiful tape and stickers, so I feel this would be very book journal-esque if you enjoy all of that. And here we go again, like I already said, I love double page spread of little illustrations with words next to them. My Amu's hijab is not her hair. It's not a towel. And here we can see Noor trying to brush her mum's hijab and blow dry her mum's hijab. And here she is behind her mum, who's washing her hands in the sink, and she is trying to use her hijab as a towel. And it definitely isn't a hat. And here we have Noor next to her mum by the beach with a beach umbrella on some sun loungers, and Noor is using the trailing ends as a hat. Because of course, why don't you? My children tend to do that a bit with my pashmina. She wears it like this. She wears it like that. Sometimes like this, and sometimes like that. So we have Noor's mum, Amu, in a variety of different hijabs. Obviously my favourite is the fancy purple one here, and I think we've got this nice sort of golden brooch fastening. And so she's, I think she works in a medical practice. It looks like she's got a clipboard notes and a stethoscope. We've got her playing tennis here, and that hijab looks much more kind of sporty, sort of like close together. And here she is doing her shopping. So we're looking at Amu in a variety of different roles here, but never like this. And here we have a picture of Noor wrapped in the hijab like she's a bandaged up mummy, and never like that. And here we have her using it as like a superhero cape. So already it feels really, really fun. I'm just going to read you one more page, but it's definitely giving me the yellow feeling of joy. Amu's hijab looks nothing like my Nanu's hijab, and not at all like my Dadu's hijab. So here we go. We have Nanu here, and she has a black hijab, and I can't tell if it's also connected to her clothes as well. I think it looks a lot longer. And I presume that is Dad. There's Dad. I think that's Dadu eating at the table there. But in this picture, apart from Nanu, all the other women have got their hijabs off in this picture whilst they're eating. I think it's like a family breakfast. There's definitely food going on. We've got a kettle steaming on the table. Beautiful. Oh, a teapot, I think. A beautiful teapot in pink with blue patterning. That looks like a little coffee machine here. We've got some eggs, some pastries, and some other kind of steaming things, which look nice. It's almost like my Auntie Salma's hijab, and smells exactly like my sister's hijab. Amu's hijab is beautiful, just like my Amu. But why do Amu and Afa and Auntie Salma and Dadu and Nanu wear a hijab? The more I thought, the more I wondered. My head was always full of questions. And then that leads us in to Noor chatting with all her different family members about what is a hijab and why they wear the hijab. And I'm just going to read you the back. Full of curiosity and lots of questions, Noor sets out to find her answer. This heartwarming yet funny tale is a celebration of Muslim women, curious children, and family love. So there we go. That is my yellow. And so finally, the prompt that Jack chose was movement. And for this one, I have chosen one of the ones that I bought for myself when I was at uni, and it is Gregory Cool by Caroline Binch. Caroline Binch illustrated the Grace books. So that's Amazing Grace, Grace's Family, and I really, really love those books. They were written by Mary Hoffman, but it was Caroline Binch's illustrations that really made me fall in love with them. So we get her beautiful art style in here. It's very realistic. It feels very painted. It feels very bright and colourful, and I really enjoy it. So I have chosen this book for movement because this is about Gregory, who goes to stay with his family on Trinidad. I think it's Trinidad. It's an island in the Caribbean, and I'm pretty sure it's Trinidad. It's not, it's Tobago. I had a choice of two and I totally got it wrong. He goes to Tobago to stay with his grandparents. And it's all about Gregory learning to just live life differently to what he normally does, and to kind of embrace the lifestyle that his grandparents have on the island. So there's the movement of the whole story, and there's also a lot of movement within the book as well, as Gregory tries out different things, such as being in the sea and travelling around. So I thought this fitted really well. So we have a bit of information about Caroline Binch at the beginning, and then here, I love this double page spread. Look at this sea. So we have this beautiful, like, what is even that? Blue and green waves and a giant sort of wave splash. We can see there's sort of like a rock here in this darker green and a wave splash spurting up. So we've got the spray of the water, and I just love the colours. It looks so beautiful. I want to jump in the sea and go swimming in it. And then on the next page, we have the title page and all the illustrations. And here we have, I think it's Gregory saying goodbye to his parents as he goes to stay with his grandparents. And here is plane heading to Tobago. Gregory, you just like your photos, cried Granny. It's your granny got to kiss you at last, and here's your grandpa. My, we're so pleased to have you home, Grandpa said, sitting in the taxi from the airport, squashed tightly between his grandparents. Gregory wished he was back at home with his mum and dad. Why did he have to come to Tobago? The air was stifling, and strange smells disturbed him. Gregory shut his eyes. All of a sudden, he was very tired. So we have this this beautiful illustration, and it just absolutely sums up the word so much. You can just see the sort of grumpy child, the, you know, slightly worried about being away from home. Everything's unfamiliar, and the best way of coping that is to just be grumpy and think everything's rubbish. And he is properly squashed in, but here's his adoring grandparents, both looking at him, delighted to be able to have their grandson come to visit them. And then in the next page, we have him walking up and seeing the house, and we have the beautiful moonlit sky. The taxi stopped outside a very small house. Do you really live here? Asked Gregory. Granny and Grandpa just laughed as they took him inside and showed him his room. The last he saw before he fell asleep was a lizard looking down at him from the ceiling. And here's the lizard. Look how cute it is. Though I probably would be a bit freaked out falling asleep thinking it was going to run across my face. Gregory sat down and looked at his breakfast plate. Checking I haven't skipped a page. Pretty sure that's the next page. No, it's not. It's not. I had skipped a page. We're not going to read that page. We're going to read this page. Gregory woke up next morning with just a sheet over him. It was hot. Sun poured in through the open window. There were no toys, no books, no carpet, not even a proper door. Gregory scratched at his arm. Something had bitten him during the night. Was he really expected to stay here for 4 weeks? I just love this picture of the sun absolutely shining through this window, and there's sleepy Gregory all sprawled out on his bed in this quite basic room, but you definitely get the heat and the warmth through that picture. In the kitchen, Granny was cooking breakfast. and Grandpa sat at a small table with a boy Gregory hadn't seen before. This must be his cousin. His mum had told him about Lennox and how he lived with Granny and Grandpa. "Good morning, Gregory." They all smiled at him. "Come and have some food, boy, then Lennox will show you around," said Granny. So again, all very, very happy faces, all in t-shirts and very light clothes, and Gregory is still in his tracksuits and baseball caps, sort of holding on to what he would have been wearing were he not in Tobago. Yes, Tobago, not Trinidad. So there we go. That is all the books that I'm reading for the prompts, and I will of course be sharing more of my thoughts on them when I do my wrap-ups. So the last thing for me to talk about is my illustration deep dive, and I have chosen to explore the works of Minnie Gray. So again, this is an illustrator that I discovered at uni, and I really enjoyed this book, The Pea and the Princess. We were doing a lot about sort of like fairy tale retellings and how you can do a lot within pictures that don't necessarily come up in the text. And so this was one of the books that we looked at. Having really enjoyed this, I also looked to see what other picture books Minnie Gray had done. And I had wanted these for a long time, and I recently bought them for my children, but really for me. And I have Traction Man and The Adventures of the Dish and Spoon. And all have a slightly different feeling to them, but you can tell that it is the same illustrator. And what I really enjoy about Minnie Gray is that she puts lots of details into her pictures. So with The Princess and the Pea, it is a retelling of The Princess and the Pea. Traction Man is a story of a boy getting a superhero action figure toy for Christmas, and then we get to see the games that he plays with his action figure. But it's all told through the story as though Traction Man is a real person and it's what Traction Man is doing. And with The Adventures of Dish and Spoon, we have a really kind of 1920s, 30s Bonnie and Clyde feel to The Adventures of the Dish and Spoon, but we also have all these references to the nursery rhyme Hey Diddle Diddle. And I just really enjoy them. So I will be going through all of these books and really looking at how Minnie Gray illustrates and what makes these stories so much fun in this format. Okay, so that is all my books. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you're planning on reading any picture books. I'm just going to see if I can hold them up in like a couple of fans. It doesn't really work holding a stack when it's picture books because they're so thin. Okay, I can. Just ta-da! Woo! Yes, so here is what I will be reading. Please let me know if you are taking part in this, if you're planning on reading anything, if you have heard or have never heard of any of these picture books before, and what your favourite picture book is, whether that's now or a one you have a fond memory of as a child. Happy reading, everyone!